The following podcast is an interview I did with Jimmy Oswald. He runs what used to be my old outfitting business in Colorado, and then they've expanded that into a bunch of other outfitting. We cover a bunch of topics in terms of Colorado. This episode was meant to be just about the draw, but we actually talk a lot about the politics in Colorado and the different political issues that are arising around the hunting world there, and also really how that's going to affect hunters beyond Colorado, across the West and everywhere else. I think we have some really interesting conversations about that. I usually don't get political, but in this one I did. For whatever reason, I'm a little more straightforward about my opinion. So we dive into a bunch of those, and I think it's a pretty interesting discussion. We do finally get to the 5-year season structure that's coming up in 2025 and then into the draw. Lots of interesting stuff there. The archery elk hunting in Colorado is almost certainly going to be full on draw across all units in 2025. All those tags going to draw are going to change everything everywhere if you're an elk hunter. So let's dive right in. All right, Jimmy. So tons of stuff going on in Colorado politically with the draw, this new 5-year structure, all of that stuff. But I'm sure a bunch of the listeners want to hear kind of the inside scoop on where this lion thing is, if there's any new things going on with the wolf stuff that they released, any of that stuff. Let's just start there, man. Fill me in.
Yeah, so if guys haven't heard, there was a ballot initiative to ban lion hunting, and basically they basically just throwing everything at the wall and seeing what stuck. So they threw two. One of them we got wiped off the bat, and that was actually the most scary one. So right now it's just a total ban on mountain lions, bobcats, and lynx, which is like I don't even know why they threw lynx in there. I mean, I know why,
Yeah,
but
but it
it's
doesn't really.
goofy that they did.
Sure. Yeah, yeah.
Um, but so we're fighting that, and we're trending in the right direction. And so that's going to be on the ballot this November. And really, we're just kind of at a point where we um, just need money for education, advertisements, like throwing up Instagram ads at the Sprouts Farmers Market in Boulder, to
Sure.
educate people. So
Yeah, and
that's a big one.
I was talking to Dan with what's the acronym of his group?
TRWM.
Yeah, and yeah, he one thing I've noticed, like his group, Howl, a few others, they're they're pretty focused on one this one issue. I mean, I know Dan is in particular in Colorado, but I know that talking to him and then talking to you privately, one of the big issues with it is like one, like you're saying, you got to do these education campaigns. You got to get the word out to convince like that marginal voter that doesn't. I mean, let's be honest, man. Like a lot of people, even in the liberal areas or in Colorado, they don't really care about this topic that much, right?
Yeah, no, they
But
don't.
yeah, it's like just not on their radar. They're more concerned about all the stuff that's going on in their life. But we're talking about, and tell me if I'm wrong, Jimmy. We're really talking about a situation where they're getting information from the other side, and if that's the only information they get, obviously they're going to lean that way when they see when they see it on the ballot. But if they just get a little information from our side, which I think is very much based in reality and has very good science behind it, they're much more likely to either abstain from voting on it, which would be a good thing in a lot of these areas where it's not a concern. People just aren't concerned about it if
Yeah.
they live in Boulder or whatever, or they'll vote our way. um so that's really what we're talking about, right? Is trying to fund that mechanism.
Yeah, 100%. Just like I mean, like one of their big things that they're like this trophy hunting is that, nobody eats mountain lion. Like all they need to know is that the guy 3 blocks down from him who shot a lion last year, he eats it and feeds it to his family. And like if they know that, um, yeah, they're gonna be like,
Sure.
people don't like being lied to. So when one of these groups tell you that nobody eats lion, and the guy 3 blocks down is like, I actually really like it and I feed it to my family. People, I think people are like, well, why the hell did this group tell me that it's inedible and nobody does it, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think people
Yeah,
don't like
or
being lied to.
yeah, or even more overtly, man, it's a lot. I mean, in Colorado, it's not like this in every state and every province in Canada. But in Colorado, you got to pack the meat out, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Um, it's
you,
already a law.
yeah,
So yeah, it's kind of when people hear that, they're like, well, hold on, like these guys are saying that nobody eats it, but it sounds like it's already a law and it sounds like a lot of people consume it. So, um, it's interesting to me because I don't, for me personally, I totally get where you're coming from. And I think it's very like a good tactic from our side just to point out like basically the lies that
yeah,
that the other side's putting out there. I don't think in the end, like the meat thing, I don't think it's like the crux of the issue or whatever, but it just points out that hypocrisy. You know what I mean? So I do think that's a very good example of getting the
yeah,
information out.
yeah. And I mean, at the end of the day, like honestly, like I've gone lion hunting. You got a picture of a lion behind you.
Sure. Yeah, 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 sure.
But I mean, I do a lot of other kinds of hunting. So like even for the guy that lives in Maryland, it's not like and who doesn't agree with running lions with hounds. And I know people here in Colorado that like, I would never want to shoot a lion out of a tree.
Yeah,
Um,
there's a lot
it's
of hunters. A lot of
yeah,
hunters are not huge fans of it.
yeah. It's honestly it's really irrelevant um, how you feel about like the method to take or even the harvest of big cats. It's more of this principle that we're going down with ballot box biology. Like, oh, we don't like something, so we're just going to vote it away from a subset of the population because we can. It's
Yeah,
like it's
it's
like it's like um like a very small population or portion of the population are Jewish, right? And it's like it's 1930s Germany is what these people are doing. Like, we don't like this subsect, which is a very small subsect of the population, hunters.
sure.
So we're just gonna vote them away. And that is exactly what the Nazis did in Germany in the 30s. They just like we don't like these people, so we're just gonna get everybody, we're gonna brainwash you, and we're gonna just wipe them away.
Yeah, and you're gonna structurally change what's been going on. Like this structure of wildlife management has been put together for a reason, right? Like
Yeah,
we've tried to build it in a way that it works for not only wildlife ecosystem but for hunters for sure. So yeah, they're trying to break down that whole system, and I think what's been pretty apparent, Jimmy, and it's exactly what you're talking about, is that you see it in Oregon, you see it in Washington, you see Colorado is probably the apex of it right now. But you see all these systems that they're attacking, and they have a good strategy, right? Like if they can attack, what used to be like, hey, let the state wildlife biologists figure it out and manage it, right? Let's let them do their job. If they can attack that and break it down, with ballot initiatives, that's one strategy they're going to use. If it, and really, it's hard now to say that it's anything other than what you're talking about, just an attack on hunting opportunity eventually, and then therefore hunting, right? That's really
yeah,
what all this ends up looking like. And the other big tactic that's related to that is stuffing these commissions too, right? It's the same thing. It's
yeah,
basically bastardizing a system that was supposed to give, representation to, the different parties that this was relevant to, right? The ag guys, the hunters, the outfitters, the non-hunting public, the recreationists, like there was, different board seats. It's just like a form of corporate governance, and that's getting stuffed everywhere too. It's really evident in Colorado. So yeah, man, it's like a breakdown of a system that was working really to achieve a goal that is really an anti-hunting goal. And it's for me, dude, it's funny to say that because I would have never, I don't know that I would have bought into that like 7 or 8 years ago. I think I would have bought into the idea more that it's just like bleeding hearts, right? Like they just don't want
Yeah,
to kill
yeah.
lions. If you're not, if you don't understand the system, you've never done it before, I could totally understand that as a reasonable conclusion, man. But the more and more, I don't think that's what it is, man. It's
Yeah,
this
no,
is,
it's just a blatant attack
on hunters. Yeah, yeah.
on hunting.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
And
hunting
like I
opportunity.
guess where I was going with that, like for the guy in Maryland, um, that has no, he's never gonna leave Maryland. He happy shooting his whitetail and maybe a Sika deer or whatever.
Sure.
Dude, that guy needs to step up his game because the idea that it's not gonna spill over into Maryland, you're freaking nuts. You know,
Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Just yeah,
this method of ballot box biology, um, is is the new wave, and they're coming for you in all 50 states.
yeah. I mean, they're basically breaking down the model of wildlife management that has been used for the last 100 years, right? And yeah. And the problem is, I think everybody needs to start figuring out tactics to combat it because it's not the thing that I think they figured out, Jimmy, is it's not going to hold up. Like we can say all this stuff about, let the science manage wildlife, the stuff that hunters talk about all the time, but it's not really structurally there's an assumption amongst hunters, dude, that it's the law. It's not the law. Ballot
Right.
initiatives are the law. That's
Yeah.
perfectly legal what they're doing.
Yeah.
The North American model of wildlife management is not the law. So it's a
Yeah.
suggestion. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so I think you're totally right, dude. Like these other states need to really consider like their own tactics and maybe get ahead of the game a little bit. Um, but dude, the thing is, and I think me and you will talk about this a bunch as we dive into this. We're already kind of circling one topic that I want to talk about is that yeah, sure, man. If you're a guy that never leaves Maryland, you never leave PA, this is a concern to you. But man, if you elk hunt anywhere in the West or you mule deer hunt anywhere in the West, I don't think people understand how big this Colorado deal is.
Yeah.
And I don't think people understand it just straight from a biological slash like hunter opportunity side of things. Like I mean, me and you are biased because we've always been in Colorado, hunting in Colorado, but Colorado rules the elk world when it comes to
Oh yeah.
numbers. Like it ain't
Like it
even
was
close.
no. Like
Um,
if you take like Colorado's total elk population, it's like you can take the next three states and add them together, and it equals
yeah,
Colorado.
yeah. I mean, just before we like this call, Jimmy, because I knew we were going to talk about it, and we don't need to jump in it right now, but just as an anecdote, I looked at they're gonna me and you talked about it. Colorado is gonna go all archery draw, almost certainly, right? Would you agree with
Yeah.
that? So
Yeah.
that's gonna
I just
happen.
saw I saw like Colorado bow hunter, um, some Instagram page. They're trying to combat it today. They just threw up a post, but yeah, they're gonna be.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough. I mean,
Yep.
yeah,
It's not gonna.
and we could go down that rabbit hole too. Like, I think there's probably, I mean, if I was a bow hunter, I'd kind of be arguing like, hey, let's cut some rifle tags too, whatever. But
Yeah.
that's another topic. But all this stuff goes draw archery. I saw that in the staff recommendation, CPW is saying that through the draw tags, the archery draw tags, they're going to start off with a 10% reduction over what they've sold over the counter, right? And so, man, 10% reduction is 3,500 bull tags in Colorado. That they're like the first year they're gonna
Yeah.
chop it. Well, it's 3,500 total bull tags, but the way the splits are gonna be, it's probably gonna look like 3,200 non-resident tags, and then 200 or 300 resident tags, right? So
Yeah.
really, 3,200 archery bull tags, or let's just call it hunts. 3,200
Yeah.
archery non-resident elk hunts are evaporating in 2025. Dude, in Utah, there's only 3,200 bull tags sold to non-residents. In
Yeah,
Arizona, there's only 2,900 bull tags sold to non-residents. Wyoming, it's only 5,000, and that's rifle and archery. So, dude,
yeah,
like they're literally wiping out a whole state of opportunity just with this first reduction. So, like,
well,
it's a
and like,
big deal.
go ahead. Yeah,
No,
but
yeah, go
like
ahead, man.
those guys, like, I mean, I think there's definitely like a pretty big population of guys that like it's their bucket list, right? They're coming out from the East Coast. They're gonna go hunt over the counter archery and might not ever do it again,
Sure.
right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
dude, the guys that come out every single year and do it, they're gonna where are they gonna go? They're gonna go to they're gonna be pushed to other states.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, like those draw and I mean those draw odds in Idaho are gonna get screwy, you know. I don't does Idaho still do the over the counter with caps?
Yeah, they do, but
Yeah,
they do, but that's
but
a perfect example.
yeah, so those all of a sudden like the guys that like, oh yeah, you just call in or get
Yeah.
online like, the first week. Now you're gonna have to do it in the first hour to get those.
Yeah. Yeah, it's already like their system in Idaho is like inoperable. There's so many
Yeah,
people trying to call to get these tags. So they're gonna have to deal with it, particularly once this thing,
yeah,
this thing pile drives through. Um, like for sure. That's the thing, dude, is like there's so many implications for the other states and their, how many people are gonna start applying there. And I don't
yeah,
know, I think a lot of it's speculation, man. Um, my thought is that a lot of people who were a lot of people who were dependent on over the counter just tags in general in Colorado, a lot of them, man, I mean, you know how your clients are, a lot of them just don't do the draw. I mean, how many elk hunters
yeah,
just they're like, I don't do the draw.
yeah. But it's
You know,
like I just talked to a guy earlier this week and it's like, look, you're gonna I still think you're gonna be able to come just build a point. I
yeah.
don't even know if you're gonna need it, but just build it as that insurance policy. And he's like, nah, I'm not doing it. Um,
Yeah. There's a lot of
like
those guys.
he's like, I don't play the draw game, and that's what it is, a game. And I was like, well, I guess
Yeah,
you
it's like, well,
kind of like,
now you have
sure.
to. Now you have, I
Yeah.
mean, unless you're in the pay to play world, um, you have to do the draw. So I
Yeah.
wonder, like this kind of thing is how many people is it going to shift who are just people who are not involved in draw systems? All of a sudden they're going to be in the draw systems and they're going to be like, all right, well, I'm doing Colorado, now I'll do Wyoming, now I'll do whatever system is arising in Idaho. And all of a sudden this pool of people in the draws to bump up the draw points in all the states. I think it's coming down the pipeline. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, no, for
Um,
sure.
so there's a lot of the. I mean, and this circles back to the topic, man. And I was reading some of the commission notes. The lion deal, the wolf deal, the current Colorado commission, it's all anti-predator control, right? I
Yeah.
mean, would you agree that's kind of the
Yeah.
sentiment there now?
Yeah. I mean, even some of the commissioners that you think would be um, like just talking to him, like they're representing the ranchers. It's like, dude, why are you so
Yeah,
anti like a non-resident ever even having the possibility of shooting a wolf?
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, like, but yeah, go on.
No, no, yeah. I mean, I uh I think that's pretty prevalent, man. And anybody, dude, if you're in Colorado or any other state, if you're a hunt, I mean, this is probably a strong opinion, Jimmy, and you'll have to tell me your thought. But if you're a hunter and you think that predator suppression is not correlated to hunting opportunity, you're a moron. Like
Yeah,
you're you're
100%.
you- you're avoiding a bunch of empirical evidence. Like it's so strong, it's not even funny. Like when the anti-hunter, the wolf guys or the lion, the anti-lion hunting guys, the wolf guys, all these guys bring this up. It's comical. Like what are they talking about? I even know some fly fishermen that tell me this kind of crap that like, hunting opportunity has nothing to do with predator suppression. It's like hilarious. Um,
Yeah, yeah. I
go
mean,
ahead.
when I was sitting in one of those the wolf reintroduction meetings last year or 2 years ago. I mean, it's verbatim out of I forget the gentleman from CPW, is that, like these handful of wolves, they're gonna kill 100 elk. Um,
Yeah.
and in turn, our current success rate in Colorado is around 10%, or they suggest, right, over all manners of take in all the units. So we need to cut 1,000 tags from hunters to support
Yeah.
the wolves is
Yeah.
what it comes down to. And that's so yeah, exactly. Wolves do matter for hunting
Yeah. I mean,
opportunity.
only 50 wolves. That's the
Yeah.
thing is like just like the predator thing. I don't I think there's been this deal back like 10, 15 years ago that a lot of hunters didn't talk about the predator thing, right? It's always been like a touchy subject, even within the hunting community, I feel
Yeah.
like. Um and it's like it's always been on the top of my mind, and I think it's because I'm from a livestock family, and that's it's you see like the direct impact if you're in that world a bit, but you know you're talking about just 50 wolves reducing the opportunity by by the math you just did 1,000 tags. That's a third of all the non-resident elk hunts in Arizona, just
Yeah.
50 wolves.
Yeah.
So this is like it's really important that that this is like on the everybody who ever dreams of hunting elk, hunting in the West, not just in Colorado, that they really think about this. Because if this tide shifts to basically no predator control through this kind of crap, it's gonna, I mean, it's like drastic. I
Yeah.
mean, hopefully you're not selling, elk hunting pants in 10 years because it's gonna be a real problem.
Right. Yeah.
Um, and I'm actually surprised, man. I'm surprised that a lot of the people in those businesses have not come out and I shouldn't say that. I mean, don't you feel like you have a better feel for it? Do you feel like Dan and his group is being supported by the industry pretty well? And how
Yeah.
and how
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
yeah. So people are starting to realize how big of a deal it is. But yeah, man, instead of going down like the political rabbit hole, let's talk about the 5-year structure first. Oh, one before we get off of that, and I put out some misinformation on this. What's the bear deal? The tag price, Jimmy. Can you
Yeah.
hit
So,
on that real quick?
yeah. So they're wanting to, and I don't know if it did indeed go up, but they
It's
are
it's on the it's
proposing.
on the website now, like
Oh, it
250.
is. Yeah, so they're
Yeah.
going up. So 10 years ago, a non-resident bear tag was like $400.
Hmm.
Um, and then 5 years ago they dropped it down to basically $100. Yeah, now they're going back up, and I think it's at 650 or something like that.
Yeah, so
Um,
I saw it as 250 on the web
250.
yeah,
Okay.
but I don't know what the deal is, and I was trying to look up articles on it. It sounds like it's like still being discussed. Yeah, like some of the commissioners, basically some of the new commissioners that have been put on there are wanting it to be the same as an elk tag.
Yeah, which is ridiculous. I mean, like the CPW has nothing. I mean, some of those game wardens, man. In the summer, in Glenwood or whatever, or Aspen, all they do is or trap and kill bears. That's 90% of their job in the summer. They're trying to get hunters to shoot as many bears as possible. And now all of a sudden, like, I mean, if you're coming out on a over the counter do it yourself archery hunt, I mean you're still in like the $2,000 $3,000 range of like when you account for all of your expenses, and then you decide to add on a $600 bear tag. It's a big portion of the trip, and now those guys are probably not going to do it. But when it was $100, yeah, court like it was like a no-brainer. Why wouldn't you have an extra tag in your pocket? So
Yeah. And I think it's the same topic, Jimmy. It's like because I actually even saw quotes from Touch Chin on this one, one of the commissioners, And his
Yeah.
quote was like, "Well, why would we tip? Why shouldn't a big game tag for a predator be the same as a bull tag?" I'm paraphrasing, but basically this is the idea. Why should a big game tag for a bear be any cheaper than a big game for an elk? Um, that's his argument. He doesn't want, he does basically he's overtly saying that he doesn't want predator suppression. Um, because we all know that, if a guy is spending the money to come out in September, he he really his focus is on elk. It's not going to be on bear. I'm saying average, right? Like the
Right.
average
Yeah.
guy. And that's just personal preference on what those people want to hunt. So the reduced bear price basically encouraged some higher harvest of bears. I don't think it was like a drastic difference, but for sure, I mean, in your business,
Yeah.
there was way more people having tags, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and so I think it's pretty overt. This is like a very overt attack on that component of game management in Colorado. I mean, the CPW, they reduced the tag. They knew exactly what they were doing. They wanted they wanted more bears to get shot because they were, like you're saying,
Yeah.
they're tired of chasing them around Aspen because there's like insane, in a certain type of like feed year, the human conflict with black bears in Colorado is nuts. That's all
Yeah.
like it's all they do. All the game wardens who are supposed to be out in remote areas protecting, making sure people follow game regulations, blah blah blah. They're just an eagle trapping bears or an aspen trapping bears, chasing bears around Vail. They're like dog catchers, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And so obviously this was a lever they were pulling to have some demand, but yeah. So but that's good for people to know that like that freebie kind of bear hunt for $100. It's I don't know what it sounds like. We don't really know exactly what it's going to end up, but it's going
Right.
to be
Yeah.
between 250 and the full freight. So it's too bad. I thought it was a cool opportunity for people. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. $100 is like people spend $100 on stupid stuff every
Oh
day.
yeah, yeah. Well,
Like it's like
yeah.
$100. Like, yeah, why not? Add the cart.
Yeah, and I think there was I interact with them a few of them, and maybe you too, Jimmy. I think there was a fair amount of folks that were like entry level hunters that were like, oh hey, I can go fall bear hunting in Colorado, and while everybody else is mule deer hunting and elk hunting, I'll just go figure out this bear thing. And only my
Yeah.
gas and everything's going to cost me $500, and then my tag's going to cost me 100. I can go hunt in the mountains
Start
for
hunting.
yeah, for
Yeah.
less than a
It,
thousand bucks.
it was the perfect entry level Western big game hunt.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
spot,
yeah,
stalk, yeah, looking through your binos,
yeah. Sure.
it's
Yeah, it's
perfect.
real similar. And not to say that it's not anymore, but if you're really splitting hairs economically, you're like a young guy or young gal where $1,000 is a lot of money. There's a big difference between a tag that costs 100 and 500 or 600.
Yeah. Yeah.
So. Yeah, let's talk about 5-year structure real quick. What's the most interesting and just so the audience understands what we're talking about is Colorado every 5 years has a new season structure, and then inside of that there's some other changes they typically make. So one's coming up that's going to start. It's getting solidified right now, and then it's going to start in the 2025 hunting year. So Jimmy, I've got some notes on it, but I want to hear your top one you want to talk about first in terms of changes.
Um. Well, yeah. So I mean, I wouldn't say I have a top one. I have
Oh,
some pretty
come on, dude. The
interesting ones.
archery, the archery
Yeah.
draw has got to
Well,
be the
yeah.
top
So
one.
so yeah. They're proposing having an early um archery deer hunt. So starting August 15th and then ending the end of the month. And so it would be archery deer only. So I mean that's the like if a guy wants to archery deer hunt or shoot a deer in velvet, August is the time. Um Hands down. I mean a buck in August is a different animal than that same buck in middle of September when he's rubbed out of velvet. 100% completely different. It's like a different species.
Yeah.
Just
You
so
got
much more difficult to
you
hunt.
got a good handicap on whether this one's actually going to go through the commission?
Man, I don't. My gut is saying yes on
Yeah.
that. And just because I mean,
The staff recommendation was to do it, correct?
yeah, and
Yep.
so like usually when the staff recommends something, the
Sure.
commission follows suit. For the
Unless it
most part.
has to do with killing predators. But
Yeah,
outside of that, yeah.
exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
but
So that yeah, no, that archery deer one, that's certainly, and again that would be that's that might not be statewide. That's going to be GMU by GMU, biologist recommendation. So, if your home unit might not get it, but again, it would be open to that.
yeah, here's a question for you, man. Let's say that I've been thinking about archery hunting a unit, right?
uh,
And it's a mountain unit. So like the kind of stuff that you hunt, a lot of this stuff that really
yeah,
when people think about archery hunting deer in September, they're talking about hunting high country deer. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Sorry, Jimmy, the video is lagging a little bit, but it's probably my end, man.
okay, yeah. No, you still got me.
Yeah, as long
Okay,
if just tell me, man, if you can't hear me at some point.
yeah, no, I had you the
Yeah.
whole time.
Okay,
Yeah.
all good. Um, but yeah, what I was gonna say, so let's assume that it's like the prototypical type of high country archery hunting, and they added this to your unit, and would you do it the first year? Like, let's say I like got a couple points, I think I could draw it. Would you do it the first year it's implemented?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I think I would too, man.
Well,
Um,
and this might be like a little bit of like strategy or whatever. Um, and I don't know if you want to get into that. I mean, obviously we're not getting into that yet, but like for a guy that's got, a handful of points, and or is applying to a unit that he plans on archery deer hunting this year, um, dude, you might consider saving those points and doing it next year. Um,
oh
during
yeah,
Yeah. I
for
mean,
the
at least that's
for the
my
archery
thought
elk
on it.
stuff.
Yeah, like it again, if your unit this year is requiring a couple of points. Um,
Yeah, we can dive into that. You're talking about with the archery, the full on archery draw stuff. Um,
yeah,
yeah, let's jump into that, Jimmy. Let's wrap up this deer one though. It if that happens, I think it's a great hunt for people. We're
yep,
unanimous on that, right? Like August
yep,
15th, there's gonna be less elk hunting pressure. If somebody's thinking about hunting the high country and that actually happens, they might, and depending on the unit or whatever, that might be somewhere they would want to blow their points. Okay, let's talk about the draw stuff. Sorry, dude, my slow brain wasn't tracking for a second. So the draw stuff on elk. So first, what do you think it's gonna do? It's gonna go draw for both residents and non-residents.
during archery season.
Yeah, for bull
Yeah,
elk.
yep, yep, 100. I mean, again, can't say 100%, but yeah, there will not be an over-the-counter archery elk unit west of I-25.
Okay, so the topic that you were just mentioning within this one is what that's gonna do to points. So explain that again real quick for me so I follow it, and then I have a thought on it too. Go for it, man.
Yeah, so if well, because they already have this decrease for non-residents going on. So and then everybody's got you have to apply. Now, I do think like there's probably going to be some units and hopefully that you're going to be able to draw as a second choice. So you can build a point um and you're going to get a tag in the secondary draw or the leftover list, relatively easy, guaranteed. But if they were to change some of those allocations in the units where you're not going to be able to um, uh, do that, you're all of a sudden going to have to use your points every single year assuming you hunt that unit every year, but use
Yep.
your point to draw your home unit. So the guy that, he's been hunting over the counter every year. He's got 4 points built up. He was planning on going and hunting, a middle of the road draw unit.
Yep.
He's now probably going to say, screw it, I'm going to burn my handful of points to go hunt the unit that I hunt every single year. So you're gonna it's like this snowball effect of guys that you are, I mean, again, it's speculative because we don't know the tag allocations yet, but
Right.
when those guys put in, you're now gonna have to use your first choice on a unit that historically was over the counter, obviously, but now since everyone's using it as their first choice, um, it just inflates everything. And I know I just did a
No,
terrible.
no, yeah. So this is it's actually like a real complicated like it's complicated to explain because the implications are complicated. You don't really know how it's going to go. You
Right.
know, the gist of it for sure is the dynamic you explained, right? Like so many guys, residents and non-residents, have been building points and then drawing, or a lot of them not even drawing. They're building points and then hunting on over-the-counter archery tags, right?
Yep.
And
Or
then
like you can think of it as a basically over the counter because they issue so many tags they just get them on the leftover list.
yeah, so like yeah, exactly. So a lot of them are the same strategy, but instead they're doing it through the draw. They're putting a preference point as their first choice, and then their second choice is some archery tag that they know is going to have leftovers. Like it could be a bunch in the San Juans, I believe
Yeah.
44, right from you cross from use like that had or has been pretty easy to draw, as a second choice, whatever, right? And then, but when they do that, even if that second choice they couldn't draw, they could still fall back on over the counter.
Yeah.
So there's all these people who they had 100% chance opportunity of hunting elk this year, right?
Yeah.
The year they're putting in or they're planning for. And me and like a ton of people like that. I would say the majority hardcore elk hunters that I know, that's how they hunt. Would you
Yeah.
say that's the
No,
case?
well, I mean that's hands down the best strategy,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Yeah. And so the question is is it viable to do that strategy still? It
I don't I
yeah.
don't I don't think it's going. I don't think like, and granted, I think the first couple of years it's going to be the Wild West because you're going to have guys like I you're going to have guys using 4 points in what was once a historically over the counter area because they have no idea that they want to go hunting every single year. That's their main priority. So
Yeah.
they're just gonna throw those 4 points away to get that tag. But now they're back at zero the following year, and they're never gonna build another preference point
Yeah.
because their priority is to hunt.
They're no longer going to do like this, be able to double dip basically. And
Yeah,
they all know that, but at the same time, they're for sure going to do the trade off of I still want to hunt every year. Like the majority of them, I think.
yeah. I think so.
Yeah.
And
So
unless you're blessed and you can get on a multi-state rotate, like, all right, well, um, do Colorado next year, then I'm going to Montana and then Idaho. Um,
yeah. Yeah. And
but
that, and
that's very few people can do that.
yeah. And we'll break this all down, Jimmy, into pieces here for everybody. But I do think that what'll be really interesting is if in 4 or 5 years they continue to reduce quotas and we get to a point where the residents can no longer can no longer get an archery tag every year. That's when Colorado will be really I mean, that's when like the shit will hit the fan from my perspective. Um, you know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
there's so many resident archers there who a lot of them are, obviously a lot of them are pushing for the, the slight change in the, non-resident resident allocations, that sort of thing. Like that, but it'll be very interesting in that when it becomes a world where even the residents can't get a tag every year, which I don't think it's that far away.
Yeah. Well, oh, okay. Yeah. I mean,
You think it is?
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have guessed 6 years ago that they would go away from over the counter, uh, any
Yeah.
tag. Yeah. I mean, that's what separated Colorado from everyone else is over the counter. So yeah, I should probably be a little more hesitant on how I think and have the mindset that, there might be a day in the next 10 years that a resident can't draw an archery tag every year.
Yeah, I
In
mean,
in his preferred or in their preferred unit. There's always going to be people turning in a tag that you can
no, sure.
go pick up. But I mean, who wants to go explore a new? I mean, well, everyone wants to go explore a new unit, but they'd rather not do it well.
Yeah, they got their units there. Yeah, I don't know, man. My thought on it is for sure no more valid than yours by any means, man. I don't really know. I think it's a possibility, because I think that once the shift occurs within the CPW where, okay, we're no longer a, really a solely or primarily a opportunity state, and therefore like all these other levers that they've refused to pull, right? Like a lot of this is about money, right? They don't really want to reduce the tags because they've got to make up for that revenue. Well, once this starts to go down the path where there's just no way they're not going to be able to survive off tag revenue. They're going to figure out a different mechanism, and then what stops them from truly, in my personal opinion, maybe unpopular opinion, what then stops them from acknowledging the reality of the elk herd there and greatly reducing tax? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Across the board. It's just a
yeah,
thought. It could stay very much opportunity focused. I don't know, Jimmy, but you know,
yeah. Cliff, your guess is as good as mine on that
yeah,
one.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like none of us have the crystal ball, but there's definitely like it's trending in a certain direction. Like, I mean, kind of, jump into, the proposed changes or whatever, keeping second and third over the counter. But come 2030 to 20 35 or 34
yeah,
season structure, my guess is there's not going to be the over the counter rifle tag either.
yeah.
I
No,
mean, this is
yeah,
all just like it's all just trickles. Yeah, in 10 years, you are gonna have you're not going to just be able to pick up and drive out to Colorado, um, and go elk hunting. This is gonna be like a multi-year
yeah.
planned adventure.
Yeah, and I think when you read that, this is just my interpretation of it. When you read the staff recommendations on this 5-year plan, man, I think they tiptoe around it a little bit, but I think if you read between the lines, what you see is that, hey, we're gonna do draw archery, and then we're gonna leave rifle how it is, but this is all about us trying to figure out before the next 5-year structure how we're gonna deal with the economic implications. This is totally just my out of the blue like theory on this, is that they would put everything draw right now, cut tags 10% across the board, archery and rifle, if it wouldn't be total economic collapse. You know what I mean? For the
Right.
CPW.
Yeah, but
Um,
and it's crazy because like I 100% agree with you, and it's like I wonder that did are they getting away from the over the counter archery tags because all of a sudden the Colorado Parks and Wildlife just got, somewhere between 10 and 20 million dollars annually from people adding the park pass on their vehicle registrations. So like,
yeah, like
yeah,
that's
like
allowed them. Yeah,
parks used to just like suck all this money from wildlife. Um, and now like okay, we don't have this leech on us anymore, being parks. Um, so we can afford to get away from the archery, the over the
Yeah.
counter.
I don't
And
know. Yeah, you know,
I mean like it's like
it's a, I
as
mean, it's real valid. I mean, I think it's a valid conclusion that all of a sudden that, you know, because dude, draw archery, it's not like this was the first time people were pushing for it in Colorado.
yeah, no,
I mean,
it's just it's very serendipitous that the um
yeah.
that that they all of a sudden have millions of more dollars in the past 2 years, and we're also are getting away from over the
Yeah,
counter.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it's at least a possibility for sure, man. And I don't necessarily know that I like fault them for it, Jimmy. Like I don't really know what the other solution is. Like they got to figure out a funding mechanism. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
And
of
so,
course. And
but to the original conversation that we had here is like it's another thing that gets us away from like scientific reality, right?
yeah.
Like big
Yeah.
time. Um, and so this, yeah, it's an issue, man. Dude, I mean, I can remember going to, the community meetings, when they do their tour and they get like public opinion. Dude, 15 years ago or more, there was resident archers that were, highly vocal, wanting all non-resident archery tags to be draw, or all
Yeah.
non-resident tags, period, to be draw. That has been pushed for a long time. It's not like, it's basically just the CPW was never, they were never going to support it. And then like you're saying, all of a sudden they have. Your explanation could make sense. Your explanation could be exactly it. It could also be that the public comment on the crowding and stuff has just been so absurd that they just can no longer ignore it. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I have no idea. But there are there
Yeah.
because there's definitely I mean, what you they do have to start think I mean, everything has to be somewhat of a business. Because they've got to pay employees, right? So
Yeah.
maybe the financial um, aspect outweighs some of the biological, and I think you see that a lot more than people would like to think.
Well, it's like there's a weird culture around it, dude. Like within the hunting world and within the wildlife management world, there's a really weird culture about talking, money when it comes to wildlife, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And part of that is because that the way that we've like we live in a capitalist society as Americans, but the way we've chose to manage wildlife is very much a socialist construct. A lot of hunters they don't want to acknowledge that. It does. I'm not saying it's good, bad, whatever. That's what it is. You know what I mean? The management of a public resource for a bunch of different aspects of the public, that's a socialist construct. That's the world that we're talking about here. You know
yeah,
what I mean,
yeah,
Jimmy?
yeah.
And so it's really interesting. People don't want to talk about money, and I think that there's good and bad out of that. But one of the very bad things is this wolf and lion deal. This wolf thing, money was never talked about. Like, hey, like what would have been the harm? I want to hear your opinion, dude. We're totally getting off topic, but I'll let
No,
you
you get
keep on here. I want to hear your opinion. Like, back when the wolf thing was on the ballot in Colorado, if somebody would have just done a campaign and use like the figures that you mentioned, right? Say, hey, I love wolves. I'm a fan for them, but the CPW, the guys that manage the wildlife resource in the state, and we all think they do a pretty good job. It's a hard job. They have a budget. And I just want to show you that if you put 50 wolves on the landscape, it takes out this much money, out of their budget, and it's in perpet, and perpetuity thing because wolves
yeah,
don't only eat 1 year, right? I
yeah,
think I did the math, and it was like it's going to cost in terms of tag revenue 30 grand basically to feed a wolf every year. I don't have the math in front of me, but
right,
it's
yeah,
something like that. 20 to 30 grand. It's going to cost that budget to feed a wolf. if that would have been portrayed to the public, I mean, I don't know the answer, but do you think it would have tilted the vote? I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, for sure. I mean, because like there are, you know, there's quite a few hunters that voted for the wolves. Like they wanted to see the wolves, and I mean, whatever. I think they're cool animals, but if they would have known, like if someone would have just laid out in front of them that like, hey, uh, we're all of a sudden gonna have to cut your tags. We're gonna have to hire some other people. Um, your game wardens are gonna be underfunded
Yeah,
and
no
can't.
raise. They don't get a raise like you do for the next couple of years.
Yeah, the guy
You
might
know.
have been like, yeah, maybe that's not the best move.
Yeah, yeah, dude. I I I don't know. I want to say because I have I guess I like to view it as a rational brain, and I don't try to like draw too many like harsh conclusions on this stuff. I would like to think that a lot of people would have looked at that rationally and been like, nah, love wolves, but I'm not willing to cut these people's budget by X amount of dollars for them. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah,
But that's a touchy one in the wildlife world, man. But hey, let's how you got another 30 minutes, Jimmy?
yeah, you bet.
Okay, good. Because we've been into this for about an hour, but really in like coverage time, only about 10 minutes. We've only got
Yep.
about
We can speed race through a few of
Yeah,
these
it's all
things.
good. But let's break that down, man. If you're an archery hunter, if you've been archery hunting in Colorado, this going over the counter, who knows what's going to happen on the draw odd implications. But you have a bunch of different dynamics, right? The first dynamic is that a lot of people, residents and non-residents, who have 2, 3, 4, 5 points they've been saving up, they're probably going to blow those points on either the unit that they've been hunting every year, or they're going to blow them on some unit they've been thinking about hunting in the range of their points.
Yep.
And so that's going to have its own implications, like points that have been drawn or units that have been drawn for at 2, 3, 4 points, they're going to draw way higher.
Yeah.
You know what I
And
mean?
and it's going to be a little bit ongoing because I mean, a takeaway from this podcast should be that if you don't have points, you better start building a couple. Um, and so the guy that's planning on hunting in 2028, he's going to start building some points now. So yeah, it is going to like there will be like a little point creep in an unintended point creep in all of these units, and it's going to take a long time to hash that back out.
Yeah, and like, yeah, it's basically all speculation, but there's for sure going to be. I mean, I think it's pretty solid that in the first few years there's going to be a bunch of points that are burned,
Yeah,
right? And so
yeah,
how that all pans out, I don't know. And then after that, if you're a non-resident who wants to hunt, maybe Colorado, not every year, maybe every couple years or whatever, you have to be in the point game. Like it's
yeah,
going to be very relevant. If you're a non-resident or resident who is adamant that you want to hunt Colorado every year, you may or I mean, you're going to have to really think about the idea that you probably are no longer it's an either or deal. You're gonna be out of the point game, and you're gonna be into getting leftover archery tags if they're around, or drawing 0 point units, um, through the
first
draw.
choice. Yeah,
Yeah, which means first choice, and so that's it. You don't have any. There's nothing beyond that. That's a big shift, right? Does that cover kind of that?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, gotcha. That's a big one, dude. I'm very interested to see how that pans out. And dude, it's gonna hit. The last thing I want to mention on it is it's gonna hit these other states. Like,
100%. Yeah,
yeah, for sure. Because I mean, just the pure numbers, like the numbers I mentioned earlier, 3,000 archery tags are vanishing. 3,000 archery hunts are vanishing. They're gonna go somewhere. So the other states will see point creep because of it. You
yeah,
know, I don't think those 3,000 non-residents are gonna quit archery hunting. A portion of them might, but most of them are going to go somewhere. So you're going to see point creep in other states. Do you have a speculation on what states will see the most of it?
Yeah, I mean, like I don't, Nevada's not going to be affected, right? Just
Yeah,
because for a non-resident, you're looking at if you're lucky 15 years to get an archer tag anyway. So like they're not going to be affected, but Idaho will
yeah,
be, Montana will for sure see it. The Montana will probably be, I mean, between Idaho and Montana, they'll be the two number ones.
yeah, yeah. I think Idaho. I think all the early season stuff in northern Idaho, the Frank Church stuff, and all of that, and I've done a few of those hunts. They are not easy elk hunting at all. They're pretty similar to what over the counter Colorado is right now. Pretty tough stuff.
Yep.
Um, they're gonna get a, they're gonna have a lot more pressure, I think, from a tag perspective. Um, so yeah, I think you're right on that. All right, so we covered the potential for the early deer hunt, which is interesting. Oh, one that I wanted to ask you about, Jimmy. What do you think? I see that one of the 5-year structure um, staff recommendations is to go back to the compressed rifle season.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm okay with it. You
Yeah,
know, um, uh, I like going back to not having fourth rifle season at the end of November and a third rifle season basically in the prime of the mule deer, right? I think that was
yeah,
crazy, but so second rifle season might be a not as great of a mule deer hunt as it was for the last 5 years, and third rifle being a pretty like actually I think third rifle was the better season to be
yeah,
mule deer hunting. It was longer, and at least we saw it. A lot of our deer were they were down on private by the time the last week of
sure.
November. So
So yeah, you have yeah, I feel the same way about it pretty much exactly, Jimmy. Like it's better for the deer and it's better for the age class of the
yeah,
deer.
you know
Um,
I do like the the 5 day breaks,
yeah, from
as
yeah, like
compared to like
yeah, even
from a
from an
hunting
operating
standpoint.
perspective, hunting and operating perspective.
Yeah, yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I uh um I think so I think for sure eight is better for the deer without a doubt. I You nailed that. The other part you nailed is exactly my thought too, man, is like it's like it takes a while for this to set in, like into draw stuff. Basically 5 years, but I think now reflecting on it, third rifle has been better for the last 5 years than fourth rifle in a lot of
uh
units.
100%. Right, and I
And
get yeah. I can't speak for the San Juans or whatever,
yeah,
but in northwestern Colorado, yeah,
yeah,
they were all your public land mule deer were significant. Like 1 week, it's crazy how much those deer migrate in 1 week,
sure.
and a fourth rifle season hunt is no longer as ideal as it once was.
Right. But the question is going forward is a lot of people, maybe in the last 5 years, a lot of people have gotten used to pretty primo third rifle seasons. And now that the dates are compressed and therefore not as late, what do you think about the difference between a fourth and third rifle season? I'm talking
Yeah,
like
well,
2025 and beyond.
yeah, the fourth rifle tag is going to be back to being the primo
Yeah,
tag.
back to being a
However,
lot better.
however, there's Colorado's deer herd. The age class is non-existent.
Yeah, the
The
deer shot
like
up. Yeah.
yeah, all the mature deer are not all of them, but the majority
Yeah,
of them
yeah, yeah. The deer,
gone.
yeah, the deer really
Not
got
like there's not it there's not many deer that can slip through the cracks for 5 years. Um,
yeah. You know what
in
I
primo
noticed?
rut.
You know what I've noticed, Jimmy, is a lot of the big mule deer fanatics lately, on Instagram and all that, the big Colorado guys, they're starting to repost their stuff from 2000, 2001.
Yeah,
you know,
100%.
or 2020,
Yeah,
2021, 2022. Everybody's
yeah,
reposting old pictures because
yeah,
nobody's killed shit the last 2 or 3 years. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Um, yeah, and I don't know, dude, like, you know, the thing that's cool about Colorado's genetics are phenomenal. So with these seasons shifting back, and then if you get a weak, you know, if you get a weak fourth rifle, dry and hard to hunt or whatever for a couple of years, you have big deer back. They'll be
yeah,
back,
yeah,
you know.
100%.
So I think that's an interesting one. And yeah, I'm with you on it too. I see that as a positive. Are there any other have we covered all the proposed changes in
Yeah,
Colorado?
I mean, so there's a potential uh first rifle deer tag.
Oh yeah.
Again, GMU by GMU. That's uh that's not going to be a great tag to have, but let's guys put some, give them some other opportunity. We kind of talked about it a few days ago, Cliff. It'd be nice if they pulled some of those tag allocations out of the fourth and third season to give into
Yeah.
the first rifle, which I would like to see. The other one that I saw, and I don't really, I, I don't know how I feel about it. I don't feel good or bad. Like the late season cow moose hunt.
Yeah.
See that? Like that's kind of, I don't know. Um, they should just call that the wolf hunt for moose.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Always,
it's
yeah,
funny,
you
dude. Like when
shot one, and I don't blame you for shooting a cow moose, but they're gonna be, yeah, they're gonna take
oh
a hit.
yeah, they're host. There's I mean they're, you know, I mean hunting them is an interesting experience. They're really neat, man, and they're such a success story in Colorado. But they're not the keenest animal on earth,
No,
man.
no,
And I can particularly in Colorado, they haven't had predators in, you know, more than a decade. So yeah, it's going to be a problem for them. It's so funny, man. When I saw that, because I didn't know, I don't really moose populations are not something I keep very good tabs on. You know, I like you, it wasn't like a huge part of my business or whatever. I didn't have a lot of, you know, a lot of experience hunting them or anything in Colorado, so I've never kept tabs on it. And when I saw that, I was like, okay, are they doing this for some biological reason, or is it like, hey, let's shoot them before the wolves eat them? You know, like I
yeah.
don't
Oh,
know.
I mean, that's how you should think about it.
Yeah, that's exactly because that's what's going to happen. So yeah, it was kind of a funny one. I got a feeling that maybe that one has to do with maybe more than that or something. And I'm just naive, but I totally had the same. I saw it and I'm like, oh well, yeah, that makes sense. Do some late season moose cow hunts so you can shoot them before they get eaten. But yeah, um, the first rifle one on deer, I think that's I'm with you on that. It would be great. Dude, my ideal world would be take the deer quota out of third season, take half of it and put it in the first rifle.
Yep, perfect.
But that would spread out the deer hunting a little bit. It would help the age class of deer.
And CPW still gets to make the same amount of money.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, and you can kill a deer there,
Yeah,
you know, 10th of October. It's just hard, you know. It's just hard and the big deer are smart that time of year, you know. So but yeah, covered all that. Jimmy, let's just so everybody knows who's listening, I will put both your draw articles in the show notes of this, both on YouTube and on the podcast. But let's cover goat and sheep at a minimum, and you can hit moose too, because I know you're starting to do more of that. But for everybody that's looking for draw recommendations on that, Jimmy, I'm just gonna turn it over to you and quit interrupting you and run through that for him real
oh
quick.
yeah, 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 you're good. So um there's uh sheep populations are down about 15% um since a record high 2 years ago, or recent high, I should say. So that's kind of a bummer. And we see it in some of our units that they're cutting tags, which again needed to happen. Um, so my top um sheep units for the non-resident. Well, I'll start with the resident would be S11. I think that's a great unit. That's it's not the roughest, it's not the easiest. There's still some quality quality rams in there. And I apologize, Cliff. I'm looking at my cheat
No,
sheet.
no, you're good, dude.
But
It's white, like the white paper. You can't see it in the
yeah,
background,
yeah,
dude.
right here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's all good.
Um, so I like S11, and that those are pretty darn good draw odds. Like kind of middle of the road, not the easiest, not the hardest. Um, S12, which also is valid in S78. That's a really good tag. Lots of big sheep, lots of sheep, but the draw odds are abysmal. S17, I really like S17, but you better be a stud. You're gonna be backpacking in there. If you're over 60, I mean, even if you like run marathons and you're 60 years old, I don't I would steer you away
Rough.
from
It's rough going.
7. Yeah. Um, S59, our your old home unit, my home unit. That's a good resident hunt. The draw
No,
odds aren't the greatest, but
no. There's no non-resident tag.
yeah, which I've lost some money betting on for sure them having a non-resident tag in there this
Yeah,
year.
they used to rotate it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, and there's a if he makes it through the winter, he'll be 15 years old, a ram in there. So
Oh,
that's
okay. Yeah, so
that's
they're around.
yeah, a big old ram. S66, another good unit. Again, kind of yeah, on the lines with 11. As far as it's not being super easy, not being S17 kind of rugged, but it's still going to be a tough hunt.
Yeah, big
Uh,
mountains.
Big mountains, the size quality for 66 and the draw odds. I mean, that is, in my opinion, it's a great valued
Still good.
tag.
I haven't
Um,
looked at what they've killed in their last couple. They're still killing big rams.
yeah, which is great. Like, so if you look at the harvest stats, and it sucks that they don't have them up there from last year, which is ridiculous. Don't get me started on that because they haven't.
Yeah,
But yeah, they've been killing some big ones, and it's over the last several years, and it's sustained. So,
yeah,
um, which is
dude.
impressive. Like some of these other units, you shoot um like S2, um, they've cut the tags that there were 3 tags in it last year
Yeah,
down to one, and there's some disease and stuff going on in there, but
yeah.
they
I mean,
shot.
that unit, man. Like the big Rams got hammered. Would you
Yeah,
agree?
but
Yeah,
that's the thing. Like you take a unit like S2 that if you had some local knowledge, you're like, oh man, there's a handful of slammer sheep in there. Well, in 2 years, they killed every single big sheep in there.
yeah,
And now, like there is one, it's probably 10-year-old ram,
yeah,
but and that's assuming he doesn't croak from disease or makes
yeah.
it through the whatever.
Dude, I'm gonna interrupt you for an unpopular opinion again. It's not yours, Jimmy, but it's mine. I'm not operating there, so I will say it. The fact that you gotta tell them where you killed the Rams and they post that, even the drainage is a crock of shit. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
and it is absolutely absurd because these Rams, like these groups of Rams, you can figure them out and nobody can know them. You put so much time figuring them out. Doesn't matter if you're a guide or whatever. You could be just a resident or a non-resident who you hunt it, and then you've got a kid that's got a bunch of points or a buddy who's got a bunch of points, and you're like, man, we got to get back in there. That was a great that was a great tag, great tag to have. And your hope is that they're going to draw it the next year, but they may not draw it for 3, 4 years. Well, in that 3 or 4 years, the information that just got published by the CPW, it's all of the knowledge that you built up gets taken away. Like that would not be
yeah,
tolerated in any other species, man. It's absurd.
yeah, yeah. No,
Um,
I wish that we didn't have to publish that.
yeah,
That's
I think it's crazy. I'm for me personally, I think it's even, I don't know. I mean, I'm mixed on it, but there's a part of me that says that they shouldn't even publish size stats. Like if they want to use them internally, and I get that they want to manage the quality of rams and all that, that's all good. But my personal view is like, hey, I mean, if you go into a unit, you work your ass off, and you kill a big ram, it's your choice to put it on Instagram or not. If you put it on there, people are going to figure out where it came from. They're going to know that unit produces big rams. But if you decide not to, that should be your choice. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah. No, I
Um,
100% agree.
it's
Uh,
hilarious that it's tolerated in those species.
yeah,
Um, I and I the
and
re
it's funny because like even like there are a lot of people that like they're like I don't see the big deal. It's a once in a lifetime tag for folks, and like yeah, screw the outfitter. Like that's not nobody
right.
cares, and whatever. Like it doesn't phase me on that front, but
Well, that's the funny thing,
like
Jimmy, is
it's
like it literally affects outfitters kind of the least to some extent
yeah,
because
like we've
you're gonna have the hunters anyway. You're gonna have X amount
yeah.
of hunters anyways, you
And
know.
it's I mean the outfitters knew it. It's not like oh man we really got tipped off there by
Yeah, yeah.
so and so shoot one. Oh, so that's where they hang out. Like
Right.
the outfitters already knew. Um, now it's just now the the amount of sheep are gonna go. The harvest rates are gonna go up.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, yeah.
simple. Or the
Yeah, I
bigger rams, right, are gonna get shot.
yeah, dude, and then it has weird biological implications, I think, particularly on goats. I mean, me and you have hunted a lot of the same areas, and
Yeah.
you can't tell me that there's certain little basins that don't just get crushed.
Yeah, well, there's, I mean, you saw it like when you were doing that some guiding for us and on
Sure.
your personal hunt, like that unit, you used to like really, I mean, it used to be you find a billy from the road system and then you go after it.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like let's go hike to the back of this basin and see what's back there and then we'll start hunting. Yeah, you had your plan. You made a plan sitting in the truck.
Yeah.
Um, and then went after it. But
Yeah, but
yeah,
once they're marked, and it's like, and I know the CPW has changed to drainages now, but still, I mean, it's like
yeah,
the
it's
drainage is
not that hard. Yeah,
yeah,
the
go
whole trail of
go
these drainages, you just walk it and oh, there it is, or
yeah.
drive road
Yeah,
or
and
whatever.
so that drainage of goats will just get hammered, or that band of rams will just get hammered. Um,
Yeah,
it's an enigma, dude.
yeah,
I don't know why it is. I mean, I don't know why hunters tolerate it, honestly. Um,
yeah.
because
Well, like no one would tolerate that on their elk hunting spot.
no, yeah,
You know, why should we tolerate it on any species? But
yeah, yeah. But
anyway, before
yeah, go for it, man.
on down that that S79 unit, Cliff. I don't know if you saw that. That's a new unit in
No,
Colorado
where
by
is it?
Pueblo.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
obviously outside of our area, but that's going to be, and I take this with a grain of salt. I've never been
Sure.
there. Talked to some folks. Um, dude, like that's where
Some beasts.
yeah, there's going to be like that's where the governor's tag
Sure.
ram is going to be shot. That's where the raffle tag ram is going to be shot. And whoever and there's one tag in there, and whoever gets in there first, there's a good damn chance you're going to shoot a new state record. If you're a guy like who's like, man, I kind of don't like I've got a whole bunch of crap going on this year. I don't know. Like obviously I want to draw a tag, but it's
Yeah.
really the most ideal time. Like unless it was a life-changing tag, that might be the unit to
Sure. Yeah, and this was an unhunted population because the
yeah.
way the governor's tag is that you could only hunt the governor's tag in a
And
unit that had a hunting season,
yeah,
correct? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So that'll be like it'll be pretty interesting to see. I think some of our other units might actually you might see better draw odds in some of these other units this year because guys are going to apply to that
Yeah,
7.
all the big ram obsessed folks that are just hoping, yeah,
Yeah,
they'll
yeah.
go in there.
So
That's interesting, man. And it's the state record. I mean, so you're talking like a
200,
200 inch
plus.
ram. like
Yeah,
a beast.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that funny, man? Like I would have never thought of a 200 inch ram getting killed really in Colorado.
Well, yeah, we just shot one 2 years ago.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I would
yeah.
it came off private. Do you know?
No, that was
No, it didn't?
no,
Okay.
that was over in I probably shouldn't say the unit,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's so funny because 10 years ago it was like all about Montana and they killed
yeah.
all their big rams. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now, yeah, now you say this. Like I mean, the 200-inch Rocky is friggin' huge,
It's
dude.
next level big,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Um,
That's cool though.
yeah. And then so non-resident cheap units, again, is going to be similar to those resident units, so S11, S12, S17, um, S66. All of those units that I just mentioned, again, only going to be having one um one non-resident tag in it. So pretty
Gotcha.
pretty abysmal odds, but you need to apply.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I'm gonna draw this year. I got a good feeling. I might put in for the 200-inch Ram just because you brought it up, dude.
Yeah. Are you still a
Oh, there's
resident?
no not no there's
Yeah,
no
yeah, too
non-resident. There's
bad.
only yeah. All
Yeah.
right. Well, I'll bet on the fact that somewhere else the odds are gonna be better. I
You're
gotta
gonna you're
think
gonna
about
have
it
to
still.
you're gonna have to buy all the as many raffle tags at the Bighorn Society as you
Oh yeah,
as
there
you
we go. Yeah,
can.
yeah. I still got a chance. Um,
Uh, so
Go
then
ahead.
yeah, on Goats Cliff, G1, which G14, that's not really, it's archery only. That's really not on my resident list. Nothing there really changed tag allocations for residents. But like for the non-resident guy that wants to do it with archery, and I sway people away from. I don't think the draw odds on an archery only area are that much more drastic in your favor than a rifle unit. And unless you're 100% purist, which most guys are not, they're going to bring their bow and they're going to bring their rifle. And after the second day, they're leaving their bow
Yeah, they might
and
change it up.
there and
Sure.
there. So, but where I'm going with that, G1 does have a non-resident tag in it, and it's the first time um, in quite a few years. And I haven't gone back, but it might be the first time ever, but at least in the last 5 years that there's been a non-resident tag in
Yeah,
there.
an archery only.
That
Yeah.
that's a cool non-resident unit. G2 resident only. I really like that unit. Lots of good road access in there.
In it this
Of all
year.
the units we hunt, that's probably the best, accessibility unit there.
Yeah. And there hasn't been a non-resident tag in there in a while, huh?
Man, I don't think there's been a non-resident tag in there since maybe like
Yeah, I think
when
me and you may have guided the last non-resident in there.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Yep. Like 10 years ago. So
Yeah. That
G
that's a cool unit, man. That's a good
yeah,
one.
yeah, again, resident only. G3, that's still hands down my favorite unit. And that they do give out resident and non-resident tags in there. G6, they're gonna have resident and non-resident tags in there. The hunting pressure in there has drastically increased as they've increased tag allocations. A lot of those easy goats that live at the back of the lakes in some of those drainages are dead. You can see in the harvest statistics that it went from like 85 90% success rates in there when they were giving out 5 to 9 tags. Now you're hovering around 50%.
Yeah. It's gnarly country.
It's
If
not,
you gotta go on the tough stuff.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean not just the tough stuff, but like you've got to go, you're gonna hike, 6 to 10 miles to the back of these drainages into the goat country, and then you're gonna start hunting. And you better have hoped that the goats that you scouted in there the week before didn't bump over a drainage, because now you're
Yeah.
going right back out and going up the next one, which line of sight is a half a mile from where you were, but now you're physically having to cover 20 miles to
Yeah. Like
get that.
the huntability of it is tough.
Yeah,
Right. Like, yeah.
right. But man, we shot a giant billy in there this year, like 10 and an eighth, I think.
Oh, okay. So a
I
beast.
mean, so like they don't get much bigger
Yeah,
in,
yeah, sure.
in Colorado. So there's still some great billies in there. G17, man, I'm telling guys, do not apply for it. In the
Yeah.
past, like it's been, you could work for it. You're gonna see a goat or two. You're gonna shoot it. Man, we had a hunter in there, and it was like a 10-day hunt,
Yeah.
with
With people
like
that knew it.
with like yeah, with like 15 days of scouting and stuff,
Yeah, yeah.
ahead of time. Um, I think and that unit is managed by the state for low populations, and I think the CPW is getting to where they probably want that unit at. Because 5, 6 years ago, it was actually a pretty badass unit. Now it's I mean they've hit their population goals of managing it for
Yeah, they got
low
it
number.
whooped. Sure. Yep, yep.
Yeah.
It overlaps with 66, right? S66.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, G18 again, resident only. And they haven't published any stuff in there, but I know of a couple goats that got killed in there. Some nice ones, and again they're kind of managing that. Last year was the first year for that unit.
Oh,
Um,
that's the Holy Cross.
yeah, yeah. So they're managing that for low populations as well. That's going to be a kick in the butt too. I mean, the entire unit is a wilderness area, so
Yeah.
um,
That one might be, yeah. Well, there was the guys were successful in there, but like they're studs.
yeah, they're studs,
Yeah.
and like they grew up there, right?
Yeah,
Like they
yeah,
know what
sure.
they're doing. So
Yep.
my guess is that, and because that's just south, or I'm sorry, north of G17. So my guess is, again, they're managing that for low population numbers. It's gonna be a very similar to G17.
Yeah.
Uh,
I had
over
heard, I don't know what you've heard on it, Jimmy. This was like years ago, but they didn't want those goats. This is what if I recall it correctly, they didn't want those goats to be a continuous population, like over to G6, over
right,
to
yeah,
what G11. What's the unit out of Breckenridge? Is that G11?
G10.
Maybe that's right. Yeah, they
But
didn't want those to be connected to the other goats over on in Buney and
yeah,
Lakeville and stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I might be wrong on that. It
Yeah,
might be
whatever.
G.
Yeah, yeah. I can't
Uh,
recall, but um, yeah, yeah. So they wanted to kind of create a buffer in there, I think, is the idea,
right.
which is kind of interesting. I know that like like years ago they had a big die off in the crazies, and they thought it was because they had such a large continuous population, but
Oh,
interesting.
really?
Yeah. Um, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, man.
Hey,
What
no,
else?
you're good. So that's kind of the goat recap.
Did you
G.
did you hit on 12?
No, well, no, so I don't recommend it.
You don't have any
Yeah,
thoughts
and
on it
it's been
really?
a while since I've been in there. That's a kick in the butt. They still give out a crap load of tags, but when you go and look at like I'm sure I could let me see if I can pull it up here because
Yeah, it's gotten hard. Same deal,
well,
nasty
it's
country.
so let's see here. So G G12 in in 2020 gave out 60 tags. 2021 60 tags, and then 2022 80 tags, and now they're in 2023 they gave out back down to 60 tags. So obviously that tag reduction, they're hitting where
Yeah,
they wanted to decrease that population. They're obviously doing it. Their success is hovering around 50% in there as well, and that's including nanny only tags.
yeah,
So I mean, I uh I've spent time in there, and that's probably some of the best draw odds. I'm not putting in there for it because I don't want to.
yeah.
potentially ruin my once or twice in a lifetime tag in some unit that all of a sudden, you know, a goat hunt just, takes 4 days to do. Now all of a sudden you're in there for 2 weeks and still not sure if you can get it done. So
Yeah, it's interesting how they manage them, Jimmy, like I saw that unit go from real fun to not so much fun. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's
yeah. Well,
like,
back in what, like 16, 17 or whatever, when they first like started increasing the tag allocations drastically, and it's like, oh shit, this kind of epic. Like, there's all these goats. Yeah, they're in rugged country, but like, just sit on them for a day or
yeah.
two, and you're gonna go make a move, and you're gonna be in some good spot for you. And then to holy shit, this is.
Yeah, like there used to be like
There were
you
goats that were shot at like Maroon Lake next to
yeah, yeah.
300 people taking pictures
Yeah,
of the
yeah,
sun.
sure. Right. And in the
That does not happen.
no, yeah, and it's interesting because like for people who are interested in like in hunting goats, the billies they must be they've got to be pretty localized during the hunting season, man. Because once you shoot them out of spots, it's not like they just go. They all that's left is the ones that are like back in the more intense and in more intense terrain. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And when you talk about that unit and G6. Like the terrain's absurd, man. Like if
yeah,
they go into the shitty stuff, it's really they go into you cannot shoot them in it. A lot of that
yeah.
stuff in the Maroon Bells, you cannot shoot a goat in.
Well,
You
I
know,
mean, you could physically hit them with a bullet,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but you can't recover them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just like sheer cliff type of stuff.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, and that I guess that presents like a management issue for them, right? Because like at some extent, I know there's populations of goats in 12 that have probably even since they jacked up all those tags have probably had no harvest because of where they live. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Yeah, go for it, man. So you got goats covered. You covered goats.
yeah, yeah. So again, top picks: G1, G2, G3, G6 for the stud, um, for residents and non-residents there. So and then Moose. 12, 23, 24. That's a good tag. We shot a giant bull in
Yeah,
there.
beast, sure.
Yeah. Pretty cool. There is a non-resident tag in there.
Okay.
25, 26, 231. Still resident only, but it's man.
Some
Um
beast.
we saw some bulls during the hunting season in there that like holy cow.
Yeah, look like
Uh
they're from the Yukon.
Yeah, and I'll have to show you a picture, Cliff, because you'll recognize where it is. But dude, it's like,
Beast.
uh, it makes the one I shot look like, I know mine wasn't giant, but like,
Yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah, yours is pretty big. Um,
um,
there's some huge, huge ones around, man.
yeah, um, 48, 481. That's another good one. That actually might have the best draw odds for anywhere in the state. And
Where, where,
that's
where is that?
so
Oh,
Um, yeah, like right there on the west side of 24, like G3 country.
oh, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's good hunt.
And
That's
it's
a good hunt.
yeah, and I mean, like in some of those flat tops hunts, like you could be down in the river or
Yeah,
the creek bottoms, or you could be up on the top in the big willow flats. The cool thing with in 448, 481, you know where you're going,
yeah,
and it's gonna be down like nowhere but 50 feet
yeah.
from
Like the
the
drainages. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Like the swamps. They're not gonna be up hanging out with the goats.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, and that's so, and again, that's on Moose. And I said 48, 481 is going to be good draw odds. That's assuming they they keep the tag allocations the same as last year. So
Oh, okay.
having two tags in there.
Oh, you
Um,
don't know that yet.
Now, and
Oh, they
that's the
don't.
crap.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, they don't
Yeah.
tell you. I got you.
So it's just kind of a projection there. But
Sure.
usually, I mean, for the most part, it mirrors the previous year, or might even be one better and having an additional tag in there.
Yeah, I got you.
Um, the 49 500, there's a non-resident tag in there. That's a good one. Lots of really big moose in there. Uh, we had a pretty older gentleman, like in his 80s. He drew a tag in there, and yeah, we shot a Boone Crockett.
Oh, nice.
So, for the guy that's maybe not physically capable, that's
A
probably the
good one.
unit. But it's reflective on the draw odds. It's going to be
Hard to
kind of.
draw.
There's a new unit, the 49 Buffalo Peaks Wilderness Area only.
Okay.
That's going to be for residents only. I think that, like, I think for the resident, that might be the most sneaker-ish of the resident only units. The
Yeah.
the caveat there though is that you're either gonna need like 8 buddies to come with you,
Yeah.
or you're gonna need your own horses or mules, or you're gonna have to hire an outfitter. Just because
Yeah.
you're gonna be you're in the tag's only valid in the wilderness. Um, you're gonna
Yeah. Yeah.
have to, yeah, it takes a while to get to the wilderness, and then once you're in there, who knows where you're gonna shoot it. So you are gonna need, I mean, to hunt it effectively, you need stock.
Yeah.
So
To get the moose out.
yeah,
It's the like the like pretty much the high elevation part of
yeah,
S12, the sheep unit. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. X12 or like the 49 elk unit.
Yep. Gotcha.
Yeah,
Yeah, it'd be a cool spot to shoot one. Be a fun, like the real deal type of hunt.
yeah, yeah, and it's moosey as all get out.
Yeah,
I mean, it looks like the it looks like Alaska up there. Big
yeah,
willow flats and stuff. Um,
sure.
It's remote, and again, if you're open to hiring an outfitter or you have access to stock, um, I think that's going to be an awesome unit, and I think it's going to continue to have good draw odds for that reason, and going to always have some nice moose in it. But it's gonna, I mean, dude, like the 49 500 tag, it overlaps with the 49 wilderness area only. And if I personally had the 49 500 tag, I'd be hunting in the wilderness area.
No, I got you.
That's where some of the bigger moose are.
Yeah.
Um, so
So it's just maybe a little easier to draw, but logistics are a little bit tougher, kind of
yeah,
limiting who's
yeah,
going to do it. Yeah.
yeah.
No, I got you.
And then another kind of interesting one is 361. It's a smaller unit, has decent access in there, and like a guy could, a guy can go in there and check out the entire unit in a handful of days, and then go back um and shoot the biggest one in the unit
Sure.
pretty reasonably. I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Again, I wouldn't wait to do it in October when they're rutting and you see one, and the next day they move 3 miles.
Yeah. They're
But for
traveling all over.
an archery guy or something, um, where they're in their same pattern, that's a pretty good unit as well.
Yeah.
And
And
that would be resident only.
yeah, I got you. Good deal. Um, Sweet, man. Does that cover it, dude?
Yeah, yeah. We went on like a 30-minute political rant,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. No, that's good. Cool, man. Well, before I let you go, Jimmy, let people know. Well, let people know if you got any openings, business wise. I know you've got a bunch of stuff going on that front in the outfitting world. So let people know on that, and then just let people know where they can keep track of you, man, like your social media and all that.
yeah, yeah. So the if folks are looking to do a hunt for this coming season 2024, the only availability and just a handful of spots, it, if that would be for archery drop camps. um and then 2025, I think there's one guided spot available, and that's during third rifle. So 2025 is about booked up, as well. 2026 kind of, pretty open. And then, if somebody does draw one of these sheep, goat, or moose units and wants to go guided, please just, if you want to use us, just contact us as soon as you see that the money come out of your account, because it is a first come first serve basis. So
Yeah.
let us know. And then yeah, you can find us at several different spots. Flat Tops Wilderness Guides is kind of our flagship outfit. You can check us out on Instagram at Flat Tops Wilderness Guides. You can check out our other outfit, Horn Fork Guides, on Instagram at Horn Fork Guides. And then our kind of overall branching mother company, LKS Outfitters, and you can reach us at LKS Outfitters on Instagram as well.
Nice. You guys are buying them all up, man. But that's good. It's
Yeah,
cool to see
yeah,
you
yeah.
guys growing. But last thing, man, when is the deadline for the Colorado draw?
Yeah, so it'll be I believe it's 8 p.m. on April 2nd.
All right, sweet. Good deal, man. Thanks for coming on, Jimmy.
Yep, thanks, Cliff. Take it easy.